Last time I was flying Raven Striker. Overall, I did enjoy the ship, it did perform quite well, although the siege mode on that thing is practically useless. Now this is Typhoon 2, another tier 10 battleship. This might be one of the only tier 10 battleships that can give Anti-Ortus a hard time, because it has some very good bonuses on missiles. Now I've noticed some weird things hanging out on this ship. Not quite sure what these things are, but they are here. So I did repair the client like 3 times because I thought that my game bugged out, but for some reason this ship has these markings just hanging there for I don't know why. Now on to the ship bonuses. Large missile torpedo operation bonus per level will give you -5% large missile torpedo activation time, plus 12.5% large missile torpedo explosion velocity, and the battleship command bonus will give you plus 7.5% scan resolution per level, which is overall decent. You get some very good explosion velocity bonus on the Typhoon too, which is very important for damage application, and well, that allows me to do some very nice fits for this battleship. Overall, one of the better bonuses on missile ships that we have. Might be the second best missile ship, the second best missile battleship in the game. 2 drones, 8 high slots, 4 medium slots, 6 low slots, 3 combat, 3 engineering rigs. This ship can do both a shield or armor tank. My preference would be shield tank, but you are free to use a armor tank on the Typhoon. The type of tank can be very flexible on Minmatar ships. It has decent capacitors. Overall, the rest of the numbers are very decent. Now, one thing that kind of stood out here is the signature radius on this ship. It is kind of small if we take a look at the overall ship length, which is well over a kilometer long. And of course, the Typhoon is one of the fastest battleships in the game. The fastest battleship that I flew was the Nestor. It could hit 3000 meters per second. Second fastest has to be the Typhoon 2. It appears to be faster than the Macarial. Now on to the fit. Well, I have several fits. This time I'll also include the torpedo missiles. Usually I don't like torpedoes, but for this ship I will include them. At the moment I have rapid missile launchers. As you can see, they have decent range, 137 meters per second explosion velocity, 79.03 meter explosion radius. Now, these numbers kinda are standing out because these are numbers that I almost have, these numbers almost reach the numbers on the Barghest. Of course, I'll show you the rapid missile stats on the Barghest as well. But overall, I like how it looks at the moment. This ship should shred cruisers, frigates, battleships, battlecruisers without a problem. Now on to my rigs. In the combat rigs I have 3 rig integrations as usual, and here I went a little bit wild on the rigs. For this ship I went full on DPS. I had an idea to see how much performance I can get out of the missiles on this ship. And overall, here you can see what rig integrations and combinations I use. It's a combination between DPS, rate of fire, explosion velocity and explosion radius. Overall, I find this to be working quite well. Of course, if you want more tank, I would highly recommend that you go with a tank as well, but in the end it depends on how you plan to use this ship. Alright, well, I said that I will show the parameters on the Barghest. Let's do just that. So, this ship has actually a little bit less DPS than the Typhoon 2 for some reason. 87.5 meter per second is explosion velocity. 72.81 explosion radius on the rapid missiles on the Barghest. So the explosion velocity on the Typhoon 2 is a little bit better than the one I have on the Barghest. Very interesting. Although the range is quite a bit better on the Barghest, and of course the flight velocity is ridiculously better on this ship. So I had the idea to see how much performance I can get out of any normal ship. With a guidance computer I can get that up to 63 kilometers, which is pretty good for rapid missiles. You can technically shoot down interceptors without a problem with rapid missiles on the Barghest, even at long range. And of course, keep in mind the Barghest is not slow. It's one of the faster faction battleships. Not the fastest, but it's not slow. Right, back on the Typhoon 2. This is the torpedo launcher build. Now, torpedoes have shorter range, although they do very good damage against battlecruisers and battleships. 17.58 kilometer range at the moment. I believe I have one guidance computer installed on the ship, and of course 2000 DPS, which is pretty nice. With the normal large missiles, I have 97 kilometer range, 131 explosion velocity, 193 meter explosion radius, which is pretty good, and overall does do a lot of damage to frigates, battlecruisers, and battleships. Now the flight velocity is obviously way slower than on the Barghest, which is to be expected because, again, Mordu Legion ships have the best missile stats in the game, although they have some other difficulties to deal with. Now, the torpedo fit on the Barghest, something that I have never tried. 24.45 km is the range, 94.09 meter per second explosion velocity, explosion radius 226 meters. Overall, looks pretty good. The velocity is 5.9 km per second, 1.7 thousand DPS. As for the large missile launchers, 149 km range, 91.44 explosion velocity, and the radius 166 meters. Again, pretty good. The one number that stands out is the flight velocity, which is at 15,000 meters per second. That's a lot of meters per second. That can catch basically any ship. You ain't running away from this if it starts shooting you. Now, just for fun, I just wanna see how much range I can get out of the large missiles on the Barghest. Not sure if I did this before, but I wanna try this out. It's 176 kilometers at the moment. Okay, that's actually ridiculous, but that's cold. Now that's without any guidance computer being activated at the moment. Well, let's change that and let's activate some guidance computers. Let's see how much range I can get on this Barghest. Okay, let's hop in the fitting window. There's the ship. And let's take a look at 358 kilometer range. Well, that's a little bit lower than I expected, to be honest, although I'm not gonna complain about that range. I can practically snipe capital ships from a very, very long distance. Now that's with all three guidance computers activated. I can try out with one. I'm very curious to see how much range one guidance computer will give you. Based on the math that I see here, it should be 250 kilometers, but again, I wanna verify that in the actual game. Let's wait for 12 more seconds for the cooldown to finish, and then we can take a look at the stats again. This is one very flat ship. I always forget that fact about the Barghest. It's quite literally a flying spacepan. 250 kilometers with one missile guidance computer. That's actually not bad. I can do 3 cycles of 250 kilometer missile range, and that's actually very impressive. Right, well, back to the good old Typhoon. Now, I'll be trying out all of the different fits, all of the different missiles that I have, and I'll be keeping the current rigs because I kinda like them. Want to see if this ship can be a worthy opponent to a Barghest in terms of performance. I mean, honestly, I can tell you right away, if you want a good missile ship and if you don't want to buy a Barghest, and if you don't like the Raven Striker, then the Typhoon is the ship to go. This ship is the second best missile ship in this game. Okay, well, I have landed at this mission. Now, I have 100 kilometer range on the missiles, so I'll just do this. And of course, it will be a good speed test for this ship. Like I said, it is the second fastest. I believe it's the second fastest battleship in the game. It's definitely faster than a Macaria. Okay, let me just change the orbit. Maybe 100 kilometers is a bit too much after all. 2.1 thousand DPS, that's okay. I'm quite enjoying that number, looks pretty good, with only one ballistic control. The resistances are actually very good, even without using any resistance rigs. Capacitor lasts 2 minutes. Signature radius is quite big with the micro warp drive. Well, yeah, that's a very quick ship indeed. 1.8 kilometers per second, almost 1.9. My Macarial goes, I believe it goes 1.6, 1.7 kilometers per second. The Nestor is absolutely the fastest battleship in this game. You can make it reach over 3000 meters per second. That thing is actually ridiculous. Not quite sure. It has the slowest base speed, but with the micro warp drive, that thing is as fast as a cruiser, and that is indeed quite scary. But as for normal battleships, the Typhoon is definitely the fastest. And well, you know me, I like fast ships, including battleships. Now, I am well aware that I created a big problem with the Orthrus in the last couple months. I've seen these ships everywhere, and I see these ships do chaos everywhere. So I'll be helping out at one of the ways how to shoot down an Orthrus. Well, the Typhoon 2 is practically one of the only battleships that have a very good fighting chance against the Orthrus. And that's because of the phenomenal damage application that you can have on this ship. Now, besides that, the overall speed of the ship makes it perfect to slingshot a Orthrus. This ship has enough speed to slingshot a Orthrus. Basically, what you need to do is charge at the Orthrus when it orbits you, when it starts orbiting you. That way, you will throw it within your missile range, and an Orthrus will not live long enough to fight with this ship if it uses rapid missiles. Even large normal missiles can hurt an Orthrus pretty badly. So with this ship you have, I would say, 90% chance to shoot down or repel an attacking Orthrus, which is, again, very good surviving chance against these annoying, deadly cruisers that unfortunately I'm kind of partially responsible for having so many Orthrus flying around because, well, I made it look too easy, I guess. But well, enough of the Orthrus. The normal large missiles performed very well. I actually like the normal large missiles on this ship. Now it's time to take the rapid missiles and let's go back straight to the mission. Now, with rapid missiles, I would really recommend that you use guidance computers because they will give you a little bit more range. You would have 45, 50, 55, even 60 kilometer range with guidance computers. I might have made a couple mistakes calling the guidance computer tracking computer. I most likely made that mistake in this video a couple times, so if I say tracking computer, then I'm talking about the guidance computer on this ship for missiles, not for cannons. Now, like I said, for rapid missiles, you don't really need a ballistic control, but you can play around with the build. You can even make a glass cannon, well, glass missile Typhoon fit should work quite well. Should be very deadly as well for PvP. But with a fit like this, I really like to use guidance computers because of that extra range. Now, flying this ship kind of reminds me on the old school Typhoon build in EVE Online. That's basically something similar to this, but back then you would fit a Typhoon with 4 Nosferatus, 4 missiles and drones. It was pretty good. And that build is like maybe 10 years old at the moment. I kinda forgot. It's been a while. It's been a very, very long time ago. Now, in this game, and I believe in EVE Online, the Typhoon is primarily a missile boat. You use it with cruise missiles, torpedoes, or in this case, in this game, rapid missiles. Torpedoes can be used, I'll try them out next. But rapid missiles and normal missiles are the sweet spot for this ship. And of course, the ship's insane velocity. Now you can also take a afterburner if you don't like a micro updrive. The afterburner will make the ship speed tank in missions, in storyline missions, and of course in encounters, which is very good for a battleship. The only other battleship that can speed tank that I am aware of is the Macariel, although the Macariel is a little bit slower. It's quick, it's fast in warp, it has DPS, but it's a little bit slower than this. So that's something to take note of. And of course there's the Nestor, which I did try out in missions, and oh man, surprisingly the Nestor worked quite well in missions. And I don't know, that ship is just so weird. The Nestor really needs a rework, and my corp mates told me that. I know a lot of players who told me that, but the Nestor is good, but it's not good enough. It can be a logistic ship, but it's not good enough for that job. It can do PvP, but again, it's too expensive and it lacks in other aspects. But surprisingly, that ship worked quite well for missions. I had fun with it. Haven't been using drones in a while, so yeah, but the Nestor is definitely weird. The weirdest ship in the game. Alright, well, finishing up with the rapid missiles. Oh man, I might actually have to play around with the Typhoon a little bit more. This ship might be my next PvP battleship, I don't know. I love how it works. I love how it performs. Right, now I am back with the Torpedo build. I warped a little bit too close for comfort, so I have to shoot down the one who will scramble me. Oh, I got scrambled. Okay, fair enough. The ship did not listen to my primary target. Okay. Now I kinda wanna shoot a gate gun just to... Never mind. Let's see, I got scrambled by that Algos to assault. Okay. Well, I'll just go shoot them down one by one. Not a big problem. So, the thing with torpedoes. I have a micro warp drive, which is a mistake in this case. I should have picked a afterburner, but okay, never mind. Torpedoes don't have enough range. They have 17 kilometer, 15 kilometer range with the guidance computer, which is not bad, but it's still too short. Now, this ship is quite fast, and the inertia will throw you at around a optimal orbiting range of 21-30 kilometers. That's a little bit away from the torpedo range. So if you use torpedoes in the Typhoon, then don't use a micro warp drive, use a afterburner, because your orbit would be a lot more stable. And of course you don't have to worry about ships turning off your micro warp drive, because afterburners just run even if you are scrambled. Very important and very useful thing. Now, the torpedoes actually do plenty of damage, even to small ships. I'm quite impressed by their performance. I haven't been using torpedoes that often. I personally don't like to use torpedoes. On cruisers I never use torpedoes because they're just not, I believe, not good enough. Although they have their use, but I just don't use them. I just started to use rapid missiles on the Orthrus. I do start to like medium rapid missiles, although I still do prefer the ordinary medium missiles. But on battleships, especially on battleships that use missiles, I really prefer rapid missiles. They're overall good for everything. For frigates, for cruisers, for battlecruisers, for battleships, they shoot down everything. In the case of the Barghest, you can even use the normal large missiles for various ships. But for the rest of the battleships, the normal large missiles are useful, mostly against more larger ships like battlecruisers and battleships. The smaller ships can tank the large missiles of non-faction battleships because, well, they just don't have enough parameters. Although, I would say this ship does have parameters to do plenty of damage to cruisers with the normal large missiles. I really need to take this thing out in Syndicate for a good old camp, just to see how it will work. Might be fun. I mean, it's not that expensive if you look at the price, and it's definitely a way better price per performance ratio than on the Barghest. The Barghest is still very expensive, too expensive to fly at the moment. Or who knows, I might just decide to throw the Barghest at a dreadnought. That's one thing that I have to try out with that thing. To snipe a dreadnought. We already have a lot of dreadnought related problems. Maybe the Barghest is actually a smart idea against those things. Should do maybe 50,000, 100,000 alpha damage on a dreadnought from 300 kilometers. Sounds too good to be true, I know. I'll have to try it out. I mean, after all, that's what I love to do. I love to fly expensive ships in risky situations. Well then, I'm finishing up with this mission. Overall, I would say to stick with rapids and with normal large missiles, because they seem to be working the best in my case here. although torpedoes did a lot of damage to these ships. The alpha damage and the rate of fire looks to be pretty good. Well, overall, I'm very impressed by the Typhoon 2. I'm glad that I did pick up this ship. Might be one of my next PvP battleships. Because, well, it's cheap, it's reliable, it does plenty of damage. Overall, it does seem to have a pretty decent tank. And it's fast. That's basically all that I need for a PvP battleship. Alright, well, hope that you enjoyed. Was a nice time with the Typhoon 2. You can definitely expect more of this ship. And with that being said, stay safe, fly safe, and I'll see you next time.